Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my Vietnam style Ficus microcarpa. So this tree is designed to look like a miniature version of the giant ficus bonsai they grow in Vietnam, both the pot and the tree. And I noticed it's starting to get too big. Every year they grow bigger and bigger, so I've got to do some pruning today to get it back down to kind of the desired size, and it may involve some pretty major cuts. Here's a look at the tree. I'll rotate it around. So here's the front, coming around to the right hand side, to the back, to the left hand side, and back to the front. There are several problems developing on this tree. One is that these aerial roots are thickening up and kind of getting to the point where I'm wondering, are they too thick? So that's a problem. The moss is way too big and fluffy. This is the same moss I had on in spring when I showed the tree at the Toronto Spring Show. So I'll have to strip that off and start the moss over. And then, some of these branches, I've been pruning them, and you always get strong growth at the tips and kind of losing some of the branches down low. I think I want to reset the tree. It's getting really high. It should only be about this height, and it's way too high. So that's another problem, is that I may have to do some fairly hard prunes on these major trunk lines to get them to back bud and develop finer branches kind of down low on the tree. The branch out the side, it's quite skinny. I would like this one to thicken up, so I'm not going to prune the growing tip on that one. And maybe some of the other branches that are down low won't get touched, but certainly the ones up top will get pruned quite heavily. I haven't pruned this tree since May when I put it in the Toronto Bonsai Show, so it definitely needs a pruning. So I think I'll begin by removing the moss so I get a clear view of the trunk and the root structure. So I'll get my tweezers and just start removing this moss. It's getting way too thick and fluffy. It's always difficult keeping trees small sometimes. It's easy to let them grow a little larger every year, and you eventually end up with a big ficus bonsai. But to keep them small and to scale and miniature looking, it's pretty difficult. It requires a lot of technique that I'm slowly learning over the years. So now it's time to prune it up. Well, I've got some aerial roots growing back here. There's two new ones there, which are good. There's one from the top here. That's just a pine needle. Okay, so I think I'm ready to begin the pruning. So you can see on this branch here, it tapers up to about here, and then it's pretty well the same thickness all the way up to where it divides up here. So on branches like this, I want to cut them off short, maybe even to this leader here and this branch down here, so I get more taper, because this tree is highly tapered and everything. And those Vietnam style bonsai are highly tapered with lots of movement. So that's what I'm trying to duplicate. So on this upright one, I think I do want this as the new leader. It'll kind of have a bit of movement. It's going a good direction. It's kind of coming straight out the front, but then that's okay for the leader. So that might be my first big cut, is cutting off the whole top of that branch. That would certainly get the height down. The other possibility is cut it off kind of about here and hope something else, I get new branching coming from that cut point. That might be a good option.
That way, if nothing does grow and it dies back to these branches, I haven't lost anything. It's worth a try. So that's what I'll start on.
Okay, here I go. Wow, it's a big cut. So I think I don't want it, you can see the cylindrical part where there's no taper. So I think right here. Big cut coming up. Here I go. Just like that. Taking that whole branch off. Oh my goodness. That was a big cut. So it's leaking a lot of sap at the moment, so I'm not going to seal it up yet. I might as well let it kind of naturally bleed and seal itself. So there's a big cut. That's certainly got that branch down low. So next, I think I'll deal with this one here. So it does have some good taper on that branch. So I'm going to start cutting it back. I have a leaf here. There's some down here. I think I'm going to take it off really short to here. And the other side, I don't want it too long. Got a leaf out the back here, so I think I'll take it off here. That's a start. And then this part coming up here, it's getting quite vertical and I don't think I want that. I think it's just getting too strong and upright. So, do I cut it right off? There's a thinner one here, but it's not going a good direction. It's not fanning out, so I think I've got to take it right off. Oh my goodness, a big cut. So, here I go. All right, another big cut coming up. Done. That's come off now. That's also bleeding like crazy. Yeah, so that kind of matches this trunk a lot more now. There's another branch coming out here, which I think is all right. It's not too thick. I'll just prune it back to here. And then there's another branch. It divides here. And it's not the most flowing. I think it's starting to interfere with the branch beside it here. So I think I'm going to take that right off. Kind of keeping it fairly radial from the center of the tree. So off it comes. I'll come in here. Another big cut. Taking that branch off. Wow, that's really reducing it. You'll find on most bonsai that they need a reset every now and then. They start to get too kind of long and leggy. You gotta hard prune them back and kind of reset it and then regrow all your fine branches once again. It's a never-ending process. This branch isn't bad. It's kind of coming straight out the front though. The radial direction is more out here. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, the other part of the branch is more radial, but it's also getting tall and vertical. And I'm thinking I could take that whole thing off and keep this branch here. That's what I better do. So here I go, another big cut coming up. Done. Just
taking that branch off. I'm going to have quite a pile of branches. And then this branch, it's not a bad thickness. It tapers fairly nicely up to about here. So I think I'll keep I'll just keep this branch out here, which is a little weak, but it should strengthen up after all this removal of foliage. Yeah, so I think somewhere there, at least for now. This lower branch, I said I wanted to thicken it up, but I will remove this part going straight up. You want all the parts you want to grow to get good light. And then there's another vertical branch coming off it here that I'll just tip prune it. It's going a fairly good direction, and I'll leave this to grow. So this should grow quite long. There is a dead part to this branch back here I can prune away. Didn't make it, that one. Okay. So the next major trunk line is up the back here, and it's a big one. There is a dead branch in here I can prune away. Yeah, so where do I prune that? It's probably my thickest trunk line, and it's at the back, which isn't so good. I do have a branch each side. I could remove the vertical part, which might be a good move, maybe, but then I've got kind of nothing going up the middle. I've got like this branch and this one, and then nothing up the middle if I take that off, so I don't think I'll do that. So it may be just a hard prune on that one, cutting it off short and regrowing all the branches. If I pruned it off short, it's not too bad. I could maybe use some of the branches. At least this back one. This one's kind of growing not very radially. It's kind of growing across these branches down below, so I'm going to take that right off. Like that. You can see this branch died. I think it was just not getting light. It's too bad. It was a good direction. There is part of it alive here, so I'm going to have to prune off all this dead stuff. I'll start here. Yeah, that's too bad. And then I'll take that stub back to some living tissue. Nothing alive yet. Oh, there's our living tissue down there. It's funny, an aerial root grew out from there. Okay, well, and then there's a vertical branch here. I'll prune this one back because I'm going to keep this back branch. I'll prune this one back to here. And this one has a bit of a dead tip on it. Okay, so it's time for some big cuts now. I'm going to, if I can keep this branch, I will. I'll prune off this vertical part here. And this vertical part. This one's very tall without any branches or leaves down lower. I might have to try a Hail Mary cut on it. This one could be reduced back. Okay. Now, I'm going to do some pretty hard pruning here. So let me get the camera up. Okay, so this branch, you can see it's quite stubby and then it goes vertical. So I'm going to take a chance, take the vertical part off and leave the stub and see what happens. Hopefully I'll get some branching off of that. And then this vertical one coming out the front here, it has to be pruned back pretty hard. And I'm wondering if I should remove it or keep it. I don't want, my apex at the back of the tree, so I think I'm going to remove it. So here I go, another big cut. If I can get in here at a good angle. I may have to clean that up. So here I go, a big cut coming up. That goes off the top. Wow. So that cut point, I will take it back so it heals a little better. A little more flush so it's not so knobbly looking. Okay, that's pretty good. Wow, it's drastic. Very, very drastic. Now, I've got a vertical shoot here that I'll keep. I'll just prune it back. And what else? This is all too high here. I said I was hoping to keep these branches, but I don't know. I might be better just to keep this lower one. I think that other one's just getting too high. Again, I could try a fairly hard prune on it. Let me see from the front. I think I better take it back to this branch coming up the back. I think it'll just be too tall looking. And yeah, so here I go. This is more big cuts coming. Yeah, so here I go. It's coming off. And I'm going to take it back. Oh. And I'm wondering, I got a big wound on the front, I got a big wound here, but it should survive. It'll look pretty ugly for a while, but often the major resets do. So next I've got this long one. So let me see. I've got 3 branches in a row here coming up the side. Let me show you that. So here I've got this lowest one, one in the middle, and then the upper one. So I definitely have to keep this one. It's the apex of this thick part here. And I do want to keep my lower one. The upper one, I think I could get rid of this branch and keep this one more vertical. So I'll take that branch off. It's just too many branches all going the same direction.
So it's coming off. It's off. And I'll clean that up. Like that. Okay. So that looks better. Everything's kind of fanning out now. And then I've got to reduce that one back. So where? At least this one I have lots of branches. I've got one here, here, one at the back. I could start by pruning this part off, so here I go. See what that looks like. Not too bad. And then I can prune these branches back. Take the tip off that one. And this one's going a good direction, but the foliage is way out here. This one is a stub I can remove. This one, there's a branch back here, so I'll take the top off. And I don't need this one here, it's going not the greatest direction. And then this one, I'm going to hard prune it. I'm going to take it back to here and see if it stimulates, stub here, stimulates more growth in that area. Well, that certainly has changed the look of the tree. Oh my goodness. Now, let me look at these back branches. So, I've got two branches, one above the other here. I think because this section goes straight, I'll prune it back to the more vertical section and a stub here, which then goes out. I think that's good. This one I can prune back to a downwards facing leaf like that. And the one out the back here, do I want that? I don't think so. I left it on in case I wanted some foliage at the back there, but I'm doubtful. I'll leave it on, but I'll prune it back. Back to here. I'll just take this old leaf off to give it a little more light, and maybe... No, I'll leave that on. Okay. Wow. What a reset. Here is a look at the tree now. So there's the front. So I'm rotating around to the right hand side, to the back, to the left hand side, and back to the front. So now I need to look at the aerial roots and just see what's working and what's not. So this one is definitely getting very thick. And this one, it almost, it makes my trunk look, it almost disappears, the trunk, because the trunk used to start down here and grow up, and now these roots have come off, and it looks like the root base starts here, and I have, very little trunk line. I always like this root kind of growing over the pot and down into the soil, but it's getting very thick now. It does create a nice flare. It's a very difficult decision what to do. They're not the worst in the world. I've kind of got a matching one coming off of here. Yeah, they're not the worst in the world. I don't think I'd want to remove them. I never liked
this root, the trunk comes down and then it kind of bulges out, it rounds instead of flaring out. And I've never liked that. And I'm wondering if I could remove that section of the root. I have some roots flaring out behind, so maybe it doesn't need this rounded section here. So I keep these and the ones behind. I'm going to try removing it. It's always bothered me. So I think that will be my root work for today, removing this kind of rounded section. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a root growing down here kind of in between that I think I'd have to remove also. I'm going to do it. I just, that'll always bother me if I don't take it away. Just cut off that root like that. And then I'm going to start carving away that root. Yeah, instead of flaring down into the soil, it has that rounded look, and I don't like that. It's very un-ficus-like. So I'm just going to nibble away until I get that root removed. So work like this, it sets the tree back probably, 3 years, maybe more, but it sets it ahead in styling and miniaturization. So I've always said, don't worry about the timeline in bonsai, always do what's the best thing for the tree. And I still believe that. I would rather have a tree that's going in the right direction than one that isn't going in the right direction and has more ramification and looks more like a finished bonsai. But I would rather, structure is important, and I think I would rather always be working on the structure and trying to improve the tree rather than worrying about how it looks at the present time. It's a very fleshy root. It's already looking better. See that? That always bugged me, that root. The way it just rounded like that. This is like a potato here. There's a root behind it that I'm trying to keep. Yeah, I see a lot of people in bonsai, they're kind of reluctant to make big changes on their tree because it'll set the tree back so far. But, you always have to think about the future, and the quality of the tree is more important to me. There's plenty of poor quality bonsai out there in the world. We don't need more. So that's why I try and always improve the quality of the tree if I can.
getting quite difficult to get in here. So this fleshy part of the root, it would just rot away naturally, and I'll probably have to leave some of it here. That will just rot away and eventually disappear. That rotted wood doesn't last long on, or that fresh wood like this doesn't last long on these ficus. Okay, well, how's that looking? I like it. It flows now. Way better. I like that way, way better. That just bugged me. Everything flows down and curves into the soil now. So we'll see what happens with that wound, like this part of the root. It is alive behind, so it's possible it could grow callus around this and maybe heal over someday. I've seen some pretty amazing wound healing on ficus. Yeah, so we'll just leave it like that. And I have Adam from Notion Bonsai has made me this cut paste. And this cut paste has rooting hormone in it. And I've used it on my other ficus, and it generates tremendous... Wherever you prune the ficus and you put this cut paste on, it sends out roots. I'm going to... What am I going to do? I'm going to try and seal this up with it. But it's not sticking, it's too wet. It's too wet for there. I'd have to let it dry out first. But yeah, if you put that cut paste over, you know, any branch or root you prune off, you get aerial roots coming out of it. And yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. So I'd highly recommend Adam's cut paste for ficus, because you know, you'll get roots. Can I prune this back a bit further here? Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm looking at the tree, deciding, is there anything more I can do to this tree? Even this root doesn't flow the greatest into the soil. It's a bit rounded, but it's not bad. I wouldn't want to touch that one. The roots around the back, they're not so good. There's this one growing across here. So, but I think I'll solve that with the next repotting. I think that's about all I can do for now. Yeah. I will seal up these top cuts here. I'll try using Adam's paste. It should work on there. They're a lot drier. And it may be just, you know, I'm not the greatest at applying cut paste. So I'll just get a dab of it and then I'll spread it out over the wound. And I may get roots growing out of there. I'll seal all these other cuts up with the paste too. And Adam from Notion Bonsai has just written a bonsai book, his first bonsai book. And it was on its way. I was going to give it a review, but we have a mail strike here, which has just ended. So the book was on its way, and then it got returned because of the mail strike, which was too bad. But whenever I get the book, we'll give it a good review. So I'll seal up all these big cuts I did using Adam's paste. I'm sure I can get that root sealed up too. I'm going to try wetting my finger. Oh, that works.
doesn't stick to your finger then. Yeah, that works good. Oh yeah, that's the secret. Wet your finger. Doesn't stick to your finger then. Beautiful. Okay, that is sealed up. I think the whole tree is sealed up. There's a wound here. I don't know. I think I just used rubber cement on that one. Yeah, all sealed up, so that's good. We definitely have a Blue Jay Bonsai carnage cam today. Oh my goodness, did I take off some beautiful branches. Look at that. Oh my goodness. They would make great cuttings, but I find no one's interested in growing trees from small cuttings generally. Yeah, I try and give them away at the clubs, but no one's really interested in them. So here's a look at the tree now. I really like it. I think it's really improved. Especially that root base, taking that rounded root off really helped it. And I think the top is going to look good. Now I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I said, you know, I've set this tree back many, many years, and I don't think I have. I think you'll see at the end of next summer that this tree will be either showable or almost showable again. I think you'll see a ton of new shoots growing all over the tree, finer branches, and I'll just manage all those branches. And I don't think it'll take too long. I think you'll see this fill out very quickly. Yeah, so I'm very happy with the work today. I think it definitely needed that reset. I mentioned about Adam's cut paste, and I'll show you the tree that I used the cut paste on and how it grew roots out of that cut point. So here in the greenhouse, oh, it's nice in here. So here's the tree, Ficus Fancy. So I took off an aerial root here and I've sealed it with cut paste, and you can see the new roots that grew out of that cut paste. And they grew right out of the cut paste. And then I kind of peeled the cut paste away. But yeah, it's really good at stimulating roots. I have the Toronto Bonsai Society's fall show and sale coming up. It's Thursday afternoon now. Coming up Saturday morning is the day the show opens. So I was doing a little more work on my landscape here, my Kubu Island landscape. So I went out and I got some fine gravel and I kind of placed it around the base of the trees, just to give a little more variation in the size of stones. I also refreshed my white sand here, and the white sand out front, it was getting a little green looking. So I refreshed that, and I sprinkled some white sand here and there in the landscape just to brighten it up a bit and provide some variation. So the trees are pretty well ready. The last thing I want to do, I need to scrub the trunks, make sure there's no algae on it, brighten them up as much as I can. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. And the other tree, my Schefflera here, it's looking quite good. I did a little weeding on it this morning. There were a few weeds popping up, but nothing too major. I think that's pretty well ready for the show. I have stands picked out. I think I might have to get some accent plants ready. I picked out one for the Schefflera. That was my Ficus religiosa, but the leaves since then have grown huge, and I don't know if I'll use that one anymore. I've got these aloes that could go with the Kubu Island. I have my living stones back here, my lithops, that could go with it. I don't know, there's a lot of possibilities. So yeah, there'll be some more show prep coming tomorrow. The final finishing touches on the trees. Make sure everything's looking the best they can. So last night we went down very close to freezing. So I still have a lot of the trees in the polyhouse here. And they seem to be okay. It didn't freeze here, and it didn't get a frost. But if we go much colder, I will have to start bringing them into the basement. We have one more cool night tonight where it's just above freezing, and then it warms up again for the weekend. So yeah, everything's looking good in here despite the cold nights. My jade here, my old jade, you can see some of the branches are breaking on it. I was going to prune it and I just never got time. So the branches kind of grew long and spindly, and then they started breaking. So I've got to get to that soon. So the jade forest that's on my mini bonsai bench, Matt from the Kid Abid Club, he started that jade forest from cuttings off of this parent plant here. So that mini jade forest is the exact same as this one here. This one's just a lot larger. My apple tree is in the sun here. Yeah, it looks pretty cool in the sun. So it lost, all the older leaves went yellow and fell off, and these are the leaves from the last flush of growth that are still green on it. So it's hanging on to those for a while yet. I'll show you one more rotation of the tree. So here's the front, coming around to the right hand side, to the back, to the left hand side, and back to the front. A major reset for my Vietnam style Ficus microcarpa bonsai. I'll keep you posted on the development as it grows new branches in and starts to fill out once again. Fingers crossed. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.